This episode is brought to you by SafetyWing. Today on the Cost of Living Abroad pod, we're diving into the neon-lit, beer-soaked underbelly of Chiang Mai, Thailand with Nolan, an ex-programmer turned lady bar owner. He made nearly $20,000 a month from his first bar before losing it all in a classic Thailand flameout. But he's back with a second bar, smarter, sharper, and willing to spill every hard-earned lesson about what it really takes to run a lady bar in Thailand. Welcome to the Cost of Living Abroad pod. I'm super excited to talk to you today. I know you own a lady bar in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I've watched a bunch of your videos on YouTube. So I'm really excited to share with my audience basically your cost of living, everything you've gone through to set up not one, but two different lady bars in Chiang Mai, and kind of to hear the struggles, the pros and cons, and what it's actually been like for you to leave home, relocate to Thailand and start a business.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Let's jump right into your cost of living, what you're eating on a daily basis, how much you're spending monthly on food, and then you can just sort of, naturally incorporate the costs of your business as well into that if you want.
Sure. I actually am living right now in a townhouse in Padet, which is fairly close to my bar. So I moved in there probably 3 months ago just because of the location. And it's about $11,000 a month, which is really nice for having. I have 2 bedrooms and an office where I'm able to set up a studio for my YouTube channel. So I actually can sublet one of the rooms out to one of my staff. So that's pretty handy as well. So,
nice.
Usually on an average basis, I'm spending maybe up to $500 a day on food. As where I'm at, like where the bar is at, is in like a pretty touristy area for Chiang Mai at least. So I'm either at the bar or trying to get food quickly to go back to the bar and film. So between coffees and food, I'm thinking about $500 a day.
That's sort of $15 to $20 US range, maybe.
Yeah, around there.
It's so hard to gauge these things, right? Because so many people in the audience, not so many people, but people tend to do this thing where they think, oh, Thailand's so much more expensive than it used to be. And I think they idealize or like have this sort of like vision of like the paradise on $500 a month thing. And it's like, you can do that if you're a broke backpacker or whatever. But the majority of us who live here, like yourself and myself, who live here long term, you wouldn't want to, right? Like what you're doing is experiencing a different sort of quality of your life. You're saying basically your food costs are actually more than your rental costs for your place. Right? Like it's what do you think that kind of cost would be back home in Canada, right? Like the equivalent to maybe $500 on food and drink, $350 on rent, $850, which is maybe $1,000 Canadian. How much is that setting you back in Alberta and in Canada?
A townhouse like this, you're probably looking at $2,000 Canadian a month, maybe more. And then food, with food these days in Canada, I don't even want to think about it. It'd be ridiculous. I remember when last time I went back, even going out for fast food in Canada these days, you're looking at $20 for a burger and fries. Like it's ridiculous. So,
Man, the last time I went home, I had a great time. It was like right after the COVID break in 2022. In other words, it was cheaper not then than it is even now.
Yeah.
I remember I went to like a local diner, a spot in the neighborhood I grew up in. So this place has, been there probably for a couple decades. And I sat down and I ate something so simple. I think it was like French toast with like 3 sticks of bacon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like $25 with my coffee. And they were charging extra for syrup. I mean, can't blame them. I guess it's the cost of running a business.
Yeah.
So let's get into the business aspect of it too. Your bar, I know it's like literally adjacent or on the back of the big Muay Thai stadium and ring in Chiang Mai. So why don't you tell me a little bit about not just the cost of like rent and operational costs, but the whole process of setting up that business for you, how much it costs,
Sure. So when I came back this year, this bar was sitting empty. Essentially what it is, in Chiang Mai, you have Loi Kra Road, which is where all the lady bars are really situated. And then kind of almost at the end, you have the boxing stadium. And that is kind of the hub of that area. There's a hallway all the way back with bars. And then in the back, you have a boxing ring with more bars surrounding that one. And mine's right on the back. To get that bar, you have to pay key money in these bars. You pay 300,000 baht up front, plus 60,000, which is your 2 months damage deposit, first month rent, and then a 3,000 baht processing fee. So that'll get you in the door to actually open the bar. Then you need licenses, like business license, liquor license. If you're going to sell cigarettes, you need those. And that could be anywhere from 3 to 5,000 baht, and that'll give you for the year. And then you're good to go. The doors could be open. But with mine, like it just flooded in Chiang Mai actually right before I got the bar, probably maybe like 2 weeks before I got the bar. It had flooded. So there was no fridge in there. There was really nothing in there. There was a bar top and a couple shelves and some chairs. But I had to buy a bunch of stools and liquor and more shelving and a new fridge. So probably once we were ready to open, I was probably another 150,000 baht in investing into the bar to actually get us open. But that being said, like I didn't need to put all that in. I just wanted to add a bit more to the bar to get it open.
Right. So 1,000 baht's about $30. So you're saying the initial cost is about under 10,000 US dollars, another couple thousand for the sort of the actual physical location, the rent, etc. And then the regulation, red tape, bureaucratic stuff in the sort of $3,000 range altogether. So like all in, you're still talking under 15,000 bucks, like to open the door, like latchkey, just turn and start operating.
Yeah. That's it's pretty manageable.
What about the cost of the operational costs? So not just like all the liquor and buying liquor, ordering liquor, that whole process, but also the bar girls. Like what's it like hiring a staff, dealing with the staff, not just paying them financially, also the sort of like, the language barriers, the psychological, emotional stuff. Just tell me about it, man.
That is definitely a tricky side. There's a weird part in the bar scene in Thailand is that I cannot legally hire somebody to work in the bar. So I have to have somebody to hire people to work for me. So I actually found somebody, when I first opened, somebody found me my manager, and then she came to work for me, and then she would hire everybody. She would post on Facebook, she would ask friends, she would look around, and then we'd slowly get people into the bar. The biggest challenge for the entire time we've been open is getting staff. Like the girls either don't want to come consistently, or they don't know how to work, or they don't know how to speak English. So it's obviously it's the area I'm in is predominantly for foreigners. So if you don't speak English, it makes it harder to communicate with the customers. So that has been a big challenge, is getting staff and maintaining staff throughout the whole time. So like, payment is different. Like every bar pays differently, but we pay a salary because we're right in the back. And I find that when you're in the back of the stadium, all the bars have to pay salary because the girls really don't want to come to the back and have to serve the customers drinks who are watching the fights, because those people are not buying them drinks. They're just buying drinks for themselves. So you have to pay a salary. So we pay about 300 baht a day in salary, and then we pay them per drink they get after that as well. And then again, that varies on bars.
Okay, right. So the structure is like, it's about whatever it is, $10 to $12 USD salary, and then a sort of tip or sales-based commission, I guess you call it, where they got a couple bucks, they sell a drink. And what's it like your all-time sort of, I know you've had two different bars, so you can sort of explain the difference between how each one worked out, didn't work out. What's your all-time sort of like highest month, the most you're selling, the biggest, gross revenue?
Well, gross revenue, I think was around 600,000 baht in 1 month, with a profit of almost 300,000 baht. That was in my first bar, because the thing with that bar was that was really a large bar, which was great. Well, it's a kind of a double-edged sword, but it was great because you could have a lot of girls, you could have a pool table, you could have a lot of room. But then you had to have a lot of girls. At one point in that bar, the reason why we were making so much money was during high season, we had 10 to 15 girls. And if each one of them are getting a decent number of drinks, then you can actually make a good amount of money. But then once it started to slow down, all of a sudden you're having to pay salary for 10 to 15 girls when the customers just aren't there anymore. So it made it kind of like, when I was running, I kind of took care of it for the first, that one, like we opened in January of 23, and that one, for the first 4 months, I was the one running the bar. or I had a manager, but I was the one making sure everything was running properly. And we were making 200,000 to 300,000 baht a month on average. But then once I left, because I had to go home to Canada for family reasons, and so then we lost 50,000 baht a month after that for the summertime. So.
Okay, so I mean, those are pretty, I think for a lot of people, that'd be pretty shockingly large numbers though, right? I mean, like 600,000 is over $20,000 Canadian revenue. You're talking about $10,000 Canadian a month. I mean, and keeping in mind the differences in cost of living, salary, operational costs. But then the flip side too is that losing 50,000 a month, that's hold on, let me check it. I don't want to get this number wrong. That's over $1,500 in the red a month, US too. So what's that, like almost $2,000 Canadian a month? No joke.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a pretty high risk. I mean, I think it's more risk financially than people would think, right? Even just like the number we led with saying like, okay, you're all in, you're opening a business for $15,000, but then you're in a risk scenario where you could lose 10% of that a month in operational costs.
That one, the reason why we lost money in that one was because my partner and I had made some errors that one of the reasons why I ended up selling it to her was that she refused to mitigate those errors. So, there's things you can do salary wise. Like back in that bar, we were paying them 500 baht a day, no matter what. And then they'd get 20 baht for the first 4 drinks and then 100 baht after that. But a lot of the girls had the mentality that they're fine on living on 500 baht a day. Like that's 15,000 baht a month. That's a good salary here for a lot of Thai people. So they're like, we don't need drinks. We don't want customers to come to the bar. We don't want to sit with anybody. So it's like they're actively trying to make the bar not do well because they're fine at making that. So you kind of have to lower their salary and make it an incentive to get drinks so that, you both can succeed. So there are things you can change that a lot of the other bars do in the area. But she just wasn't willing to do that, and it just was really difficult to get us to move towards something more like that.
Tell me about that original process of how you met your first business partner.
So when I initially came to Thailand, I came for a different reason, and I was here doing software development, and I was actually living in Santitam, which is like kind of the northwestern corner of Chiang Mai, and just happened to be that the condominium I was staying at was 2 blocks away from her first bar that she opened with another Thai guy that she knew. And so they'd have food and drinks there, and it was right near my place. So I would go there every once in a while. And she happened to be the only girl there that spoke English. So we just started a friendship. And I was here again. Like I wasn't here trying to work on business. I was here working on software development and building an app for myself. But in conversations with her, it just seemed how possible and how open Thailand is to starting businesses, how they do really reduce a lot of the barriers to entry on things you have to do in the West. You don't have to do the inspections and the, red tape and all the legalities that you do have to do in the West. You can kind of break through that. She even said for herself, like, you can set up a restaurant, like she had a restaurant, and you don't have to have the licensing, you don't have to have the any of that in place. You can open for 6 months, and then you can go back and get all the things you need to make sure that you're above board. So they kind of give you that grace period here to make sure that you can actually do that. Anyways, I ended up having to go home after that time frame, and coming back the next year, I came back with kind of the mentality that maybe I'm going to shift away from software development as I got kind of disenfranchised with that and move towards more of a physical entrepreneurship here in Thailand.
What was the process in your mind, and then also like physically getting ready for it? Like, why did you leave Canada for Thailand?
Well, I left Canada the first time during COVID, so 2021, I think it was. And Canada was locking down like crazy on COVID. Everything was because I was actually working in northern BC, and I'm from Alberta. Technically, at the time in Canada, it was illegal for me to drive to work. So it was just like, there's so many regulations, there's so many things. There's just like, this is just ridiculous that like, this is how we're treating this. And I've been talking, like I'd always been into like the digital nomad space, like, researching being a digital nomad. And I'd previously talked to another guy who's lived here a long time, Brett Dev, and we had a conversation about like digital nomad and Chiang Mai and, where to come. And when I I wanted to get out of Canada. I was sick of Canada for the minute. I just wanted to get out and honestly get away from the winters a little bit too. Like where I'm from, every year it gets down to minus 50, and I'm just like, I don't want to do another winter of minus 50. So I'm going to get away from that for a little bit. And I thought, might as well try Thailand. Like, it looks beautiful and this is what I want to do. And so I kind of just took the plunge and moved over for the winter. So obviously things changed, but yeah, it was a great experience.
How come after your first year, you make that shift, forget the cliche digital nomad sitting in a laptop on a cafe all day, and you go back to basics and open a real brick and mortar business? I mean, I love it. I think it's awesome that you're taking that risk. It's more skin in the game. You're more invested in Thailand and the people, the community, the place. So tell me about that choice for you.
So when I was here initially doing the software development, I met that buddy of mine, and he'd shown me the Lloyd Cray area, the area that I ended up opening my bar in. But like through that time and then going back, because I was actually building an app for the oil and gas industry, trying to pitch it to them, trying to get somebody to buy in. Essentially, I was told that the only way I could get that app off the ground is if I put like $500,000 Canadian dollars into it myself. Trying to freelance and working with clients online in the software industry, you're really underpriced if you're a Westerner, because you got to compete against people who are willing to do it for half the price if they're from, Ukraine or from India or wherever. So it's like you keep getting undercut. And I kind of got sick of having to deal with that. Whereas like I felt like if I had something of my own, yes, you're going to have other challenges, but you can control the narrative. You can control it a lot more than the digital sphere where you have to be competing with everybody in the whole world.
I think that's such an interesting take on it, because one of the things, and I've never really quite articulated it that way, but one of the things I always think about now is that even people, including myself, who I had a really traditional in-person career. I was a school teacher for 17 years, all over the world internationally, but also like I worked for the public school board in Canada. I worked for the government, right? I was a literal public servant, a public employee. And I think that a lot of people in that space, myself included, don't think of themselves as competing globally, but we actually are now, right? Like anyone, including teenagers in Canada, can just go online and get educated now. But we have those sort of like old school industries where you don't see the fact that you're in, you know what I mean? Like you can't like tangibly see your competition.
Yeah.
So it's easy to tell yourself that you're not competing with them and it's not actually affecting you. You kind of like open my eyes there in a way that I hadn't thought about, and I appreciate it. So tell me about the flip side of that, whereas you're now in competition, of course, with your neighbors and the other bars at the Muay Thai arena and in Chiang Mai and around Thailand. But I know there's also like a really different sort of sense of community among business owners. And you started your own membership of bar owners in Thailand and people who are interested in the bar and nightlife and food and beverage industry in Thailand. So tell me about that experience for you of, immersing yourself in the local culture through enterprise, through being an entrepreneur and a business owner.
One of the best things and one of the most interesting things I find with having a bar there is like, if you're in an area like this in Canada, your next door neighbor is not your friend. They're not going to help you out. They're not going to be there for you. They're your competition. You want them to fail so you can succeed. Whereas here, all the bars, if you go there and if you're social and if you go into each other, they're going to come to you. They'll help you out. Like if I need liquor that I ran out of there the night, I can borrow it from another bar. If I, don't have limes or something, I can borrow it and I give it back the next day, and vice versa. They'll come to my bar. Like my birthday was a couple weeks ago and all the bars in the area came and were buying drinks for me and my girls. And like, they want you to succeed here. They really do care that you're doing well and actually care that you're going to succeed here. Whereas I think there's not that mentality anymore in the West. There's that like competitive mentality. And one of the problems I find is a lot of guys who come over here and they try to institute that kind of competitive Western mentality into Thailand, they get pushed out because people don't want to deal with that here. We didn't come to Thailand to be like the West. They came here to be like Thailand. And so it can get hard, but you really have to kind of go with the flow a little bit more here than you would maybe back in Canada. There's a lot more, well, it's Thai time. That's always the thing that people say, right? Thai people work on their own time frame. They're not gonna show up on time. They're not gonna do things the same as we would in the West. But at the same time, that's why we came here. So you can't expect people to be like you are where you came from when you left that place for a reason. And then, yeah, like I'm trying to create a membership of other bars because I think there is, like, especially for foreigners, there is a big information gap on number one, getting a bar yourself. Because when I opened my bar, like, again, I had my partner, and so she kind of guided me through a lot of these things. But there's a lot of misconceptions around what you need as a bar, what the actual hurdles are going to be. And so I want to create a membership of like-minded foreign bar owners that we can help each other out and make sure that we all succeed.
Yeah, I feel like that's so true. And even despite AI and the sort of, AI is kind of, I know it's a large language model, but when I think about AI, I think of it's just like it's a search engine on steroids. And the biggest issue with search engines was that there's too much information, right? And I feel this the same way with the AI race, that there's too much information. And the real issue when you're looking at something specific, like opening a bar in Thailand or legitimately like trying to move to Vietnam to set up the right visa for you, the right bank for you, the right healthcare options for you as a single person, which is like, that's the kind of stuff I help people with on my website, on the costoflivingabroad.com. It's like, you're always going to get a general answer. And I know that you can train an AI prompt, but it's just not the case, right? Like, you have to actually get boots on the ground or be talking to someone like yourself who's done it before, right? Like, we can go on to ChatGPT and say, hey man, what's the paperwork I need to do to open a bar in Thailand? Like, I'm sorry, like, no fucking way. It's not gonna actually tell you the struggles, right? So what are some of the biggest, hiccups, the roadblocks, the things you've had to overcome? Obviously, you sold your first bar, so you've had a few. So tell me about the big bumps you've had to get over on the way to having a business.
The number one thing with the first bar was being on eye to eye, like having the same vision as my partner with where the bar was going to go. And so we had a different idea of how the bar was going to move forward. And that's kind of where we came to heads. And so we ended up having some issues. At the end of the day, the biggest problem is always going to be coming to staffing, because staffing is going to be what makes or breaks your business here, especially a lady bar. Like, there's a big misconception with the lady bars that if you just have the hottest girls in the world working in the bar, you're going to do great. When it's like, I had really hot girls working at the other bar, but the big thing for slow season is that you need people who want to keep coming back. And so these girls have to know that they need to make friendships with these guys, not romantic, but just like relationships with these guys, so that they'll want to come all the time. They'll want to come to the bar every week. Because a lot of these guys live here, and I see it all the time now. Like, I see guys and they'll go around the area. They'll go to one bar, see a girl they know there. Then they'll go to another bar, they know a girl there. Then go to another bar, they know a girl there. And then they'll go home. And so it's like, you want to get in that rotation with your bar in no easier way to say it. So it's like, it's about creating that friendship with these customers. Because I think, especially in Chiang Mai, the Chiang Mai bar scene is a lot different than, say, the southern ones. So it's like, you have to have a bit of a different mentality, but like, you have to have the staff that are willing to do that and that understand that kind of relationship that they need to have. Because, at the end of the day, the people are going to make your business here. It's simple as that. Like, if you don't have the good people, your business is not going to do well.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I know we've talked a tiny bit about this before, but I think the biggest misconception about lady bars in Thailand, in Southeast Asia, is that it's just 100% sexpats, Westerners, right? It's only foreign, Western, old white guys, sexpats, passport bros looking for prostitution. And I think it's way more nuanced than that, for better or worse. So, you tell me about your take and your own experience on that sort of stereotype or idea of what a lady bar is.
Yeah, there's definitely guys who do come for that, and 100% that does exist, but I don't think it's the majority. Like, especially up here in Chiang Mai, like, we don't have the number of bars they do in Pattaya and Bangkok, and we don't have the number of girls working in these bars. So it's like, up here, there's probably like 30 bars ish in the boxing area, maybe another 20 along the street that are lady bars. And that's it. That's it in the whole city. So the market is so much smaller. And so, like, I've seen guys who have the mentality of the sexpat, and they'll come and they'll walk by the bar and they'll signal a girl to come out and be like, oh, bar fine. And she's like, no. Because a lot of the girls who work in Chiang Mai, number one, the mama-sans or the managers won't let them just leave during the middle of the shift because they need them to be working. And number two, a lot of them, like, they don't go with customers at all. Yes, there'll be some girls in some bar in a bar maybe that will, but not every girl in every bar will go with the customers. There's a lot of different reasons why girls maybe they even prefer to work in Chiang Mai is because they're allowed to do that, right? Like a lot of girls have families and they're simply sending money back to their family. They're supporting their families, or maybe they're, they have a kid and same thing, right? But there are the ones that will be the party girls. But I think especially in Chiang Mai, it's not as often. Whereas like in Bangkok and Pattaya, you've got this insane number of bars and each bar has like 20 or 30 girls. And so I do think it's more prevalent down there because you're just going to have the competition of if you don't go with customers, then, they're not going to come to your bar. So I think it might be a bit of a different case, but I still think like there is nuance to it. I think a lot of the time it's blown out of proportion where it is still the girl's choice. It's not like it's not her choice.
Yeah, I think there's also it's of course it's financial, it's transactional.
Yeah.
The same way if you're at home at a corporate bar in Toronto or New York, like the waitress is flirting with you because that's her job, right? Like regardless of anything else, that's her job. It's transactional. Yeah. You're sitting there and a paying customer, and that employee is being paid, and that makes it a professional, relationship. But I do think that there's like the original statement you're saying, what I think of too is that like how much of it is like the Cheers thing, right? Like, so it's not just like the one night in Bangkok sex tourist expats or whatever, but like real actual expats, like the majority of my audience, they're older guys, not all, but most of them are single. And even if they aren't single and they're dating a local woman or married to a local woman, they just want to go out and meet other people, including other guys and other expats, right? They're looking for community, for making friends, for relationships. And I think a huge part of that is that like literally just like wanting to go somewhere where everyone knows your name, right? Like wanting to go to, sounds corny, but I really think it's true.
I do think that's what I think I love about Chiang Mai and why a lot of guys do move up here for the long-term expats is that, even if you want to go to Loy Crow Road and sit with a girl, there's no like expectation that anything more is going to happen. Maybe you just want to go with your buddies, have a good-looking girl on your arm, buy her a couple drinks, have a good night. She'll increase the party level. Your friends will have fun, and then you go home. Like it's nothing lewd or anything seedy. It's a nice environment. All the girls are friendly. It just increases the atmosphere, right? But it definitely is something that, it is a bit different.
We'll talk later about YouTube and the social media aspect of it, but part of it is that people don't realize the actual the algorithm, the thing, it creates sensationalism, right? Sensational headlines, sensational viral clips on a video. Whereas like, sure, like maybe I've been making content nonstop for 7 years. It's just one or two clips that go viral and people associate with that. And I think there's the same thing about, like nightlife in Thailand, right? Someone pictures nightlife. Maybe they think like, oh, I saw a YouTube video of someone getting beat up, or they saw a YouTube video that's like, a walking tour, but it's actually of like a 100-meter strip of Pattaya that, 90% of people don't live on. And I do think even here in Vietnam, I think there's a reputation that Thailand has a sort of scary or dangerous or seedy nightlife. So do you feel safe there, both as an expat, as a business owner? I use SafetyWing's Essential Plan every time I travel around Southeast Asia to film this show. And not just for medical stuff. You also get up to $500 per luggage item lost, $3,000 if your checked luggage disappears, $5,000 for trip interruptions. I mean, this stuff can come in super handy if my camera equipment or recording gear goes missing, or if I get stuck and have to reschedule an episode. And if there's travel delays, they do cover you for up to $100 a day in your hotel. And this is on top of all the medical insurance. If it sounds good to you, use this QR code over my shoulder to sign up now, or check the link pinned in the comments and at the top of the descriptions for this episode. I mean, you literally said you had a falling out with your old Thai partner, but you know, how was that? Is it scary? Yeah. Is it actually safe? What's it like, right? You're in the seedy, dangerous...
That was the one thing that like my family was worried about when I said I was first going to come over here. But Thailand is very, very safe. And I even saw a couple weeks ago that Chiang Mai was rated the safest city in Asia. So there is that mentality, but like I've never felt in danger. The only time you're going to have issues I find in Thailand is when you mess with local people businesses or something like that, or disrespect cultural heritage. Because if you're going to be that kind of guy, you're going to run into issues. But if you're just living a normal life, like Thai people have been nothing but generous and helpful in any situation I've been in. I've never felt in danger here at all. As for my ex-partner, that was not an issue at all. Like, you know, we had our disagreements and stuff, but it wasn't a problem. It was just, you know, we ended amicably, like us, like any business relationship, right? Maybe if I had not, you know, got out of there when I did and I'd fought her more, maybe then we could have ended on bad terms. But she's still a friend of mine today. Like, I still talk to her now. We just had different visions of where we wanted the bar to go and what we thought would be the most successful way to move the bar forward. And so that's why we kind of ended that partnership. So.
And what about, I presumably your old partner, I can't remember, is bilingual, right?
Yeah.
How has your experience been both as a business owner and just living as a long-term expat in Thailand? Have you started to learn Thai? Do you struggle with it? Are you just completely... Tell me about the language barrier experience.
Oh, I struggle with it. I'm trying, but I need to learn. That's one of my biggest priorities, but I haven't learned it yet. I've lucked out in that a lot of the people I work with, even the girls that work in my bar, half of them like speak English. So it's like, it is pretty nice in that regard, but I do definitely have to learn Thai. It's key to running a business here, because that is one of the detriments is like the girls are talking in Thai and you don't know what are they actually saying. Do I have to put a speaker up here and try to record to decipher what they're trying to say? But that is something that's definitely a priority. And if moving forward, I definitely need to make that more of a priority. Just been between juggling the bar and YouTube and trying to build the business, it's been put on the back burner for now.
What about I'm just thinking about my own experiences here in Vietnam and where the sort of like the biggest pain points are with language, and it's with the bank or healthcare usually, right? Like those are the times when I'm sort of like most like, I'm scared, I'm stressed out. I'm like, I want to be somewhere where I actually understand what people are talking about. It's like health or money are my two biggest like language stress factors. So how has it been, both your experience both at Thai banks and then maybe second after that with healthcare stuff?
That's been a big challenge in the banking. Like, luckily enough, I don't have to do too much, but it is definitely a challenge. Google Translate is definitely your friend, but I find here there are quite a few people who do speak a little bit of English, or at least broken English, so you can get by. When I did have some medical issues a couple of years ago, and I used the Bangkok hospital here in Chiang Mai, and I didn't have any issues, so that was pretty nice. But the one thing I do have issues with is, like, I just had some construction work done on my bar, and they messed up. But because they can't understand English, like, it's trying to communicate with him, it was just, he knew nothing. So even when I put it in Google Translate, I was still struggling. So they tried to make a booth, and I said it has to be this wide for the couch that's going between it, and they made it the wide minus the wall, so the couch actually didn't fit. So I had to buy more things and change stuff around, and so it definitely is a challenge.
I don't think there's any magic bullet for that. I think it's just, you start with your first 100 words, whether it's Bahasa, Thai, or Viet. After you get your 100 words, you try and work up to 500 words and just, set yourself a regular schedule for learning. What about Thai culture in general? What are some of the things, you talked a little bit about the timing and the HR stuff, but just in your personal life, in adapting from, living in sub-zero northern British Columbia, a hot, humid Buddhist culture in Thailand, what are the things you've learned culturally?
Well, the Thai people, it's funny because they always say that the Canadian people are the nicest people in the world, but I don't know. I think Thai people would be put them a run for their money because they're such a nice people. The holidays can be challenging though, because especially running a business, you never know when you have to be closed or when you have to be open, because we have to close for all the Buddhist random holidays. So that can be frustrating. But no, it's just, the culture is very nice. The nice thing about Thailand is everything is so available, everything's so easy, everything is open for you. And I think that kind of leads to like the Buddhist mentality of like seize the day or live every day to the fullest. The one weird thing to me though is like Thai people don't like to keep savings. I don't know if that's a generality or that's just the ones I've met, but it seems like once they have the money, it's gone. That might be the same thing with that Buddhist mentality, but it's been nice. The biggest challenge for me living here is the heat, because like I'm a Northern Canadian boy. Like I've gone through winters in a t-shirt and a vest, and it's been a bit of a challenge to deal with the heat, that's for sure.
How do you find things like, just your basics, getting around, driving a motorbike, presumably?
Chiang Mai is their second or third biggest city, but you can still drive here. The roads are not crazy. I know Thailand has a bad reputation for driving and accidents, but so far I haven't really found it to be an issue. Like the roads here are so beautiful. Like even once you drive into the countryside, you'll have these winding roads through small villages that are perfect pavement. And like traffic can be crazy, but it's not insurmountable. Like I think if I was living in Bangkok, I don't know how comfortable I'd feel driving a motorbike, just because it is what I've seen is just insanity. But like here, it's very manageable. I have a motorbike that I drive around, and there's no issues. Like I drive to work every day, and I drive around wherever I need to go, and there's never really been an issue. And everything's so close too, relative to what I'm used to.
What's it cost you to have a motorbike?
I'm still renting, and it's 2,000 baht a month, so it's really not that much. And then gas is maybe 300-400 baht a month. Like it's it's almost negligible.
What would you be paying, or what were you paying back home? Car payments, insurance, gas, all in.
And I didn't have car payments, but like I had a car, and it was probably like insurance, I think, was like 150 bucks a month or something like that. And then gas, yeah, like gas is so expensive, easily 400 or 500 bucks a month. So
talking about maybe 10%, right? Like what you're paying in Thailand to get around is 10% of the transportation you cost back home.
Well, especially Canada, like when I was working, there's no problem with me just driving to work for the day for like an hour and a half, and then like working for the day and then driving another hour and a half. So it's just like
my experience in Toronto. When I think about why I don't want to ever go back home to North America, to Canada, to Toronto long term, I think about when I was commuting to downtown Toronto on the train, and it was like, it's dark when you're walking to the train in the morning. Maybe it's snowy, slushy too. It's literally like pitch black. You're getting on a train, just like crammed like a sardine with all the like the layers, the jacket, the toque, the hats, the scarf. Everybody's like wet, grumpy, tired, cold, packed in like sardines. And then, 8 hours later, you're doing the same thing again. Yeah. I mean, Toronto Transit, I think, is very affordable. It's like $100 a month or something for one of those passes. Maybe it's $200 now.
Yeah.
But the actual experience of it, right? The thinking like, holy shit, 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours of my day, 5 days a week spent doing that.
It's not worth it, that's for sure.
If you're going to do it all again, leave Canada, make the big leap, the move to Thailand, what's something you would do differently this time? If you had a go over, a take two.
Go over, take two, hey? I'd start YouTube sooner, because how powerful YouTube has been. Even if I didn't open a bar, I did open a bar, I opened something else. The how powerful YouTube has been for my business is just, I didn't think it would be that much, but like I have people coming in to see me, 3-4 days a week to come and see me in the bar and buy drinks with the girls. So it's like, that has been a really big thing for me. And I definitely start that sooner. And I probably wouldn't open the first bar with the other girl just because how it went. But, I think I probably would open a smaller bar off of the main strip, just because, the thing with my bar is like, so I paid 20,000 baht a month for rent and all that upfront costs that we talked about before. But like, you can easily get a bar where you just have to pay 2 months damage deposit and the first month rent, and you're in the bar. So you can pay 30,000 baht and you can open a bar.
Wait,
So it's
hold on.
like,
Are you saying $1,000 US?
yeah, and you can have a bar.
That's 921. Are
Yeah.
you serious? You legitimately think there's, so I mean, and if anyone's watching and wants to open a bar in Thailand, Olin can literally help you out with it. So obviously his socials, everything's linked below. Get in touch with him. But for people watching and listening right now, explain to me again in slow motion. If I move to, whatever, my wife leaves me because she's annoyed with me YouTubing too much tomorrow. I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm going to move to Chiang Mai. I know there's great international schools. I have friends who've taught there. I bring my kids. I promise I have $921 in my bank account. What are the steps I go through to open a bar in Chiang Mai for under $1,000?
There's bars like over by the Night Bazaar that it's just a bunch of bars in this little tourist area. Like they're probably no bigger than this room. They're very small, but you just call the number up. They'll have a bunch of them are sitting empty. Call the number up. They're just an empty shell of a room. It'll be 2 months damage deposit, first month rent. They'll be around 10,000 baht. They vary. They can even be less. They could be 5,000 baht to be honest. Some of them depends on the location. So like you can rent a bar for nothing here. Some depends on the place, right? And then you just have to kit it out with your fridge and your bar top. And if you can fit a pool table in there, great. And then buy some alcohol and you're off to the races.
I mean, I love how supportive you are because honestly, listening to you right now, in my head, I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of Vietnam and go to bar in Chiang Mai. It'll be my vanity project on top of YouTube, or just I can host my weekly hangouts. Oh man, I'll literally call it Cheers. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I own a lady bar. You can too for $1,000. Tell me about your YouTube experience. Like, how did you start? How did you get into YouTube?
So my buddy, again, the one who brought me out to Chiang Mai, he's a big YouTuber. And he kind of, when I was opening the bar, he said, like, you need to do YouTube. And so when I opened that bar, I decided, okay, I'm going to be doing YouTube. The big problem for me, especially with that bar, was, like, consistency. Because that bar, I would be there from, like, I'd get to the bar at 5 p.m., and I'd be there until 5 a.m. a lot of the time. Like, we stayed open late, that bar. That's when we made good money. But, like, it was hard to, and I was working a software job still at that point during the day. So it was hard to do YouTube. So I wish I could have been more consistent. And I think if I had been more consistent, my YouTube would be even higher than what it is now. Kind of get things done. But the thing I love about YouTube, and I know we talked about this before, was that like it's not just like a vapid vanity project that the hot girls and the chads can do well. It's something that, like, if you lean into the psychology behind how people think and how you can phrase the video, how you can word a title to create that curiosity gap, to make the viewer think about what you're actually trying to talk about. And then also, you can't just make that and then not deliver. You can't say something crazy and then have the video about nothing else, because then it's just people are going to click off of it and then YouTube will just kill your video. So what I've found, and what people have told me too, which is the really nice and really rewarding part of YouTube, is that like I've always tried to be, authentic and just tell people the truth. Try not to be too flashy. Try not to like be like sensationalizing what's going on, and just tell people how it is to actually be here. The viewers appreciate that. I think especially with this advent of AI and all the faceless ChatGPT created videos that all say the same thing, people want something that's more authentic. They want a true experience rather than just like, garbage, more just like stuff that's just going to tell them what everybody already knows. So, having that authentic experience of being able to do that has been it's been really rewarding. That's probably like the most rewarding part, is people like appreciating it and, and coming to you with that. My big viral video has a bit to do with bars, but it has to do with the bar girls and the lies they tell you. And so, like, it was before I was just talking about my day in the light, like, here's what happened at my bar, here's what happened at my bar, it's like, I maybe not broadened it, but did a bit of an offset onto, like, the things that people care about around bars. And that's, the girls in the bars, lifestyle, my bar itself, so it's like more just making it more of a well-rounded niche.
What do you think the next step is for your life in Thailand, for the bar, for the YouTube, the whole thing? Like, what are your plans maybe for the membership or the community you're building? What are your plans for the rest of 2025 and on?
I'd like to build out this membership, this bar membership. I'm going to Phuket tomorrow, so we'll see what happens there because that'll kind of be the first step.
What are you doing in Phuket?
A guy, a guy's flying me out to Phuket to get my advice on his bar and maybe partnerships. So we'll see. I'm not too sure what he has a bar already, but he wants my help in setting it up. So I will see what he exactly is thinking. But I'm only going there for the night, so yeah, so it should be interesting. But I'd like to set something up like that because I think, and I'd like to build some courses because I think, like I said before, there's such an information gap, but also there's things that I simply cannot talk about on YouTube without causing issues for myself and for YouTube too. So it's like, I would rather just have a course where I can direct people to if they want to get like a full details, A to Z on how to actually open a bar in Thailand, everything you need to know, build something like that out that can give this information. Because like I said before, like when I opened my first bar, I was kind of flying blind, having to just, have my partner do everything. And I just kind of like followed along, which is obviously not a good idea if you want to be successful. I was lucky enough that she was above board, but there's a lot of guys that could be taken advantage by something like that. So I want to make sure that people are properly educated on how, if they do want to do this, if they can.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too, what you said about things you can't talk about on YouTube, because I made a video that was similar, but it was like a little bit more edgy, right? Like about stuff. Actually, that actually happened a couple times. One was about Vietnam and one was about Thailand and Bangkok, and they're about like nightlife and culture and some of the things. And the reason I made them was because my audience was asking. Guys were asking me questions about certain things, about nightlife, about dating, about whatever. We're not going to talk about it here for exactly this reason. I had 2 videos in about 6 weeks get demonetized. That's why I was like, okay, fuck this. I'm building my own website and taking it private, because you're so right. Like there's certain things, I have real information and real answers that I would love to share with people, but they don't belong in the comments section on YouTube. You can't necessarily put them in a video because they're too valuable, or they'll get you demonetized, or they're not for general consumption, right? Like they're not for the public. Let's do a last question and then I'll do a wrap up. So my last question is, what's something I didn't ask you today on the Cost of Living Abroad pod that I should have asked you, or I could ask for my next guest?
My main thing, I guess, would be like the variability, because like we talked a little bit about, how much you spend on food and stuff, but like a lot of guys do want to come here and they want to spend the $50 or whatever, the budget backpackers, the $500 a month. And I think there is a possibility. A lot of people think that's not possible anymore, but it definitely is. You can go out in Thailand and in Vietnam as well, and I could eat a meal for 30, 40 baht every meal and spend 100 baht a day on food. But like you were saying earlier, like it depends on where you're wanting. Like I'm fine with doing that, but sometimes you want to go and you want to have some comfort food. Sometimes you want to go and have a pizza or have something that's more Western, which can skew it out of proportion. So I think there's the both ends, because like Thailand, same thing. Like you could easily spend a couple thousand baht a day on food if you wanted to. But like, and that's a nice thing, but I think people still think you can't be the budget guy anymore. They think Thailand's gotten way more expensive, and maybe a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it's all about like what you want. I only spend 500 baht a day because, go for a couple coffees, there's 100 baht of coffee, and then you eat one meal for a couple hundred baht, and there you go. So it's like, I think that's the big misconception still, is that Thailand's gotten so much more money, or more expensive rather.
You know what? I think that's a great way to end it, because I feel like the exact same way about Da Nang. Everyone is complaining about this one tiny little area, which is blowing up. And it's just blowing up because there's now high demand for something that has a small or limited availability. Vietnam is a massive, incredible country of 100 million people. Thailand is absolutely massive. The whole Southeast Asia region, you could spend decades traveling around here. And I promise you, if you still want to get by on $500, $1,000 a month in Southeast Asia, absolutely you can.
Yeah.
Nolan, thank you so much for coming on. It's nolanjacks.com. I'll put his website here. I'll link to his.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching this week's episode of the Cost of Living Abroad pod, brought to you by SafetyWing Nomad Insurance. You can find more episodes of the pod over my shoulder, or check out thecostoflivingabroad.com right here.